Do you buy olive oil for your health? Well, it turns out the olive oil you buy in the supermarket may not be real olive oil at all. So we want you to know how to avoid a ripoff.
7 bottles of olive oil, 7 extra virgin labels, 7 stores charging premium prices for a product that research has repeatedly confirmed the grocery industry is routinely selling fraudulently. Only some of them passed, and the ones that failed are not the cheap ones you would expect. They are the bottles with the premium labels, the artisanal sourcing language, and the prices that were supposed to be the guarantee of quality. The results are going to make you check your kitchen cupboard, starting right now. Number 15. Walmart. Walmart's own store brand extra virgin olive oil was the first bottle I opened on my kitchen counter. The price looked great, sitting well below almost every other bottle on this entire list. But price and quality do not always move together in the olive oil aisle, and this bottle proved that within seconds. Real, fresh, extra virgin olive oil should smell grassy, slightly fruity, almost peppery at the back of your throat. This bottle smelled flat, almost nothing at all, with a faint waxy note underneath that usually shows up when oil has either been sitting too long or was never particularly fresh to begin with. The taste test made it worse. Real extra virgin olive oil should give you a slight cough or a peppery bite caused by a compound called oleocanthal, a genuine sign that polyphenols are still present and active inside the oil. This bottle gave me nothing. No bite, no pepper, just a smooth, oily texture with almost no personality at all. I checked the harvest date, and there was not one anywhere on the bottle, only a vague Best By date sitting 2 years out, which is often a quiet red flag before you even open the cap. I also checked the price per ounce against the other 14 bottles waiting on my counter, and this one came in as the single cheapest option across this entire comparison. That cheap price starts making a lot more sense once you actually taste what is sitting inside the bottle. A well-known university study conducted several years ago tested dozens of popular supermarket olive oils sold across the country and found that a surprisingly large share failed to meet the official international standards required for the extra virgin label. Verdict: failed. 1 bottle down and 14 still waiting on my counter. If the biggest retailer in the country cannot get this right, wait until you hear about the next bottle because this one comes from a place people assume sells nothing but quality. Number 14. Target. Target's Good and Gather private label has built a strong reputation among shoppers who assume the trendy packaging automatically signals trendy quality inside. I opened this bottle expecting a genuine surprise, given how much this brand gets praised online for nearly everything else it sells. The smell carried a faint grassy note, but underneath it sat a slightly stale, almost cardboard aroma that immediately reminded me of the imported bottle waiting later in this test. The taste confirmed my suspicion quickly. A dull, greasy aftertaste lingered on my tongue, nothing close to the sharp pepper bite that genuine fresh oil delivers within seconds of tasting. I checked the bottling date, and this particular batch had been sitting on shelves for what appeared to be well over a year already based on the printed code near the cap. A trendy label and appealing packaging clearly do not guarantee anything about freshness once you actually open the cap and taste what is waiting inside. I ran the exact same test twice on this particular bottle just to make sure I was not being unfair after such a disappointing first impression, and the second pour tasted just as flat as the first. Verdict: failed. 2 bottles down and 2 failures already sitting on my counter before we have even reached the halfway point of this entire list. If these first 2 failures already have you checking your own pantry, hit that like button and subscribe right now, because 13 more bottles remain, and several more surprises are still coming, including a couple of trusted names you would never expect to fail. Number 13. Tesco. I actually found this bottle sitting in the international foods aisle of a specialty grocery store, imported straight from Tesco's own private label range overseas. Curiosity got the better of me, since Tesco has a massive reputation across the pond, and I wanted to see if that reputation held up once the bottle crossed the ocean. The color looked promising at first, a deep golden green that usually signals a decent harvest, but color alone tells you almost nothing about quality. The smell carried a slightly musty, almost damp cardboard note underneath the olive scent, which usually points to oil that has been improperly stored, possibly exposed to light or heat during a long shipping journey. This bottle came in clear plastic, sitting directly under fluorescent store lighting for who knows how many months before I bought it, and extra virgin olive oil is remarkably sensitive to both light and heat. My neighbor, who actually lived in London for several years, tried it alongside me, and immediately said it tasted nothing like the bottles she remembers buying regularly back home. Verdict: failed, largely due to poor storage conditions during a long international journey, rather than a flaw with the original oil itself. Importing food across an ocean adds weeks or even months of extra transit time, often through temperature-fluctuating cargo holds most shoppers never think about while standing in the aisle. By the time this particular bottle reached my local specialty store, it had likely already traveled further and sat in storage longer than any domestically produced bottle on this entire list. 3 bottles down, 3 failures in a row, and the pattern was only just beginning to reveal itself. Number 12. Safeway. Safeway's signature private label bottle came next, priced right in the middle of the pack, compared to everything else on this list. The smell started out reasonably promising, a light, grassy note that made me briefly hopeful this bottle might finally break the losing streak building on my counter. But the taste told a different story once it actually hit my tongue, delivering something closer to a greasy, almost generic vegetable oil aftertaste sitting underneath a faint olive flavor. This pattern often points toward blending, where a small amount of genuine olive oil gets mixed with cheaper refined oils to stretch the product and cut costs quietly. I checked the country of origin printed in tiny letters near the bottom, and it simply said imported from multiple countries without any further specifics offered anywhere on the label. That same vague phrasing had already shown up twice before on this list, and it was starting to feel less like a coincidence with every new bottle I opened. Refined oils go through heat and chemical processing that strips away both flavor and many of the beneficial compounds naturally found in properly pressed olive oil. Verdict: failed. 4 bottles down and 4 failures already sitting on my counter. A streak that was starting to feel less like bad luck and more like an actual pattern across the entire supermarket industry. Number 11. Kroger. Kroger's private label, extra virgin olive oil, made this the 5th bottle in a row heading into the test with a real chance of failing outright. Large-scale buying often means blending oil from many different suppliers and countries into one giant batch, which can quietly dilute quality even when every individual source technically meets the legal minimum on its own. The smell offered a faint, grassy note buried under something closer to plain vegetable oil, and the taste followed the exact same disappointing pattern. No real pepper bite arrived at the back of my throat, only a smooth, forgettable texture that left almost no impression at all once swallowed. A friend of mine who studied food science in college once told me that vague sourcing language on any food label is usually there for a reason, and rarely a reassuring one. She also mentioned that legitimate single-estate producers almost always compete on transparency, proudly naming their exact region because it genuinely helps sell the product to informed buyers who actually know what to look for. The absence of that same transparency on this bottle told its own quiet story before I had even finished tasting it, sitting on my counter next to 4 other failures. Verdict: failed. 5 bottles down and 5 straight failures sitting in a row on my kitchen counter by this point in the test. I genuinely did not expect the fail rate to climb this high this early into the list, especially given how many trusted names had already let me down one after another. But the next bottle finally broke the streak, and it came from a place I honestly did not expect at all. Number 10. Meijer. Meijer operates mostly across the Midwest, and their private label olive oil rarely gets discussed in national comparisons the way bigger chains usually do, mostly because their footprint stays regional rather than coast to coast. That lack of attention turned out to work heavily in their favor once I actually opened this particular bottle on my counter. The smell hit with a genuine grassy freshness, immediately different from the flat, forgettable aromas of the previous 5 failed bottles sitting nearby. The taste followed through with a real peppery bite at the back of my throat, along with a clean bitterness that experts consider a genuine sign of fresh, polyphenol-rich oil. The label printed an actual harvest date, a detail that had been noticeably missing from every single failed bottle so far on this entire list. I actually double-checked the shelf tag to confirm the price, half expecting to see a number closer to the specialty bottles I have tested on previous videos on this channel. Regional grocery chains often fly completely under the radar in national comparisons like this one, despite sometimes sourcing their private label products from the exact same quality-focused suppliers that bigger, more famous chains use. Verdict: passed. The first genuine pass on this list, 6 bottles into the test, and honestly, a complete underdog result nobody watching this would have predicted. Number 9. Publix. Publix built its reputation on customer service, But I genuinely had no idea whether that same quality obsession extended into their private label olive oil selection sitting quietly on a shelf most shoppers walk right past. The smell hit immediately with a bright, grassy aroma that filled my kitchen the moment I removed the cap. A welcome change from the disappointing streak earlier in this test. The taste delivered convincingly too. A real bite followed by a lingering pleasant bitterness rather than a flat or greasy aftertaste. This is where my own personal story comes into this comparison. Because my aunt has shopped at Publix for over 20 years, always insisting the extra cost was worth it for exactly this kind of quality across every single department. I used to gently tease her about paying more for what I assumed was just friendlier customer service and nicer store lighting. Standing there with this test result in front of me, I owe her an honest apology I have not given yet. I also checked the harvest date printed clearly on the back label, and it landed well within the fresh window that quality experts recommend looking for before buying any bottle. 6 failures behind us, and now 2 straight passes sitting proudly next to each other on my counter. A genuine turning point in this entire 15-bottle comparison. Verdict: passed. And quietly one of the stronger surprises sitting halfway through this entire 15-bottle comparison. If you have made it this far, drop a comment below and tell me which of these 15 stores you personally trust most for olive oil, because the remaining bottles genuinely flipped my own expectations upside down by the very end, and I think they might do the same for you once you see them. Number 8. H-E-B. H-E-B operates almost entirely within Texas, but shoppers from that region talk about this chain with a level of loyalty that rivals almost any other grocery store in the entire country, often refusing to shop anywhere else once they move away and lose access to it. The smell carried a sharp, grassy note right from the first pour, immediately setting a positive tone for what came next in this particular test. The taste followed through with a genuine peppery bite, strong enough that I actually paused for a second before writing down my notes on this bottle. The label listed a specific growing region and a harvest date, less than 6 months old at the time of purchase. Checking every single box the earlier failed bottles had conveniently left blank. A cousin of mine who lives in Austin has told me for years that this store quietly outperforms nearly every national chain on quality, and I finally understand exactly what she meant. The bottle also came in proper dark glass, protecting it from the harsh fluorescent lighting found in most grocery aisles across the country. Regional pride runs deep with this particular chain, and after tasting this bottle myself, I finally understand why so many Texas shoppers refuse to shop anywhere else for their groceries. Verdict: passed. Confidently, and without much hesitation on my part after tasting it twice just to be certain. Number 7. Whole Foods. 365. Whole Foods carries a reputation built entirely around quality, so I walked into this test expecting their store brand to sail through easily, without much drama at all, especially given how consistently that reputation gets repeated online. The 365 brand bottle actually surprised me, and mostly in the direction I originally guessed it would go. The smell hit strong and immediately grassy, with a genuine fruity note underneath that reminded me of freshly cut green olives sitting right on the vine. I actually coughed slightly after swallowing, which sounds strange to mention, but that reaction is exactly what quality tasters look for during a proper evaluation of fresh, polyphenol-rich oil. The label printed an actual harvest date, along with a specific region of origin, details that continue separating the passing bottles from the failures earlier in this entire list. I also checked the bottling method printed on the back, and this one specifically noted cold extraction, meaning the olives were pressed without added heat, preserving far more of the natural flavor and beneficial compounds. This is where my own personal story comes into this particular bottle. Because my mother has shopped at Whole Foods for over a decade, always insisting the extra cost was worth it for exactly this kind of quality. Verdict: passed. But passing is not the same as winning, and the remaining bottles pushed this comparison somewhere I truly did not see coming at all. Number 6. Wegmans. Wegmans built its loyal following largely through word of mouth, with shoppers on the East Coast frequently describing this chain as the gold standard against which every other grocery store gets measured, sometimes with an almost religious level of devotion. The smell delivered immediately. Sharp, grassy notes with a genuine fruity punch that filled the kitchen the moment I cracked the seal on this particular bottle. The taste matched the smell perfectly. A strong peppery bite followed by a clean, lingering bitterness that real olive oil experts specifically look for during any serious evaluation. I called a friend who works as a line cook to get a second opinion on the taste, and he immediately guessed this was one of the good ones before I even told him where it came from. That kind of blind confirmation carries real weight in a comparison like this, especially after so many disappointing bottles earlier in the test. Wegmans clearly invests heavily in sourcing decisions most shoppers never notice, tucked away in the fine print most people skip right past on their way to the checkout line. Verdict, passed, and honestly, one of the strongest results across this entire 15-bottle comparison so far. Number 5. Sprouts Farmers Market. Sprouts markets itself heavily around health and freshness, so I genuinely expected their private label olive oil to perform well before ever opening the bottle on my counter that afternoon. The smell carried a bright, slightly peppery aroma right from the first pour, immediately setting an encouraging tone for the rest of this particular tasting. The taste followed through convincingly, delivering a genuine bite at the back of my throat along with a clean, slightly bitter finish that lingered pleasantly rather than turning greasy or flat like the earlier failures. This is where another personal memory came back to me. Standing in my kitchen holding this bottle, since my old roommate used to buy this exact bottle every single month years ago. I brushed it off back then as just another one of her strong opinions about groceries, but running this test years later, I finally understand she was right the entire time. The bottle listed a specific harvest date well within the fresh window, along with a named growing region printed clearly on the back label. Sprouts has always marketed itself around health-conscious shoppers, and this particular bottle genuinely backed up that marketing rather than just relying on it. Verdict, passed, confidently, and without much hesitation. 4 bottles into this impressive winning streak, building toward the very end of this list. Number 4. Costco Kirkland Signature. Costco's Kirkland Signature brand has developed a quiet but loyal following among people who take olive oil seriously. And this test explained exactly why that reputation exists among serious home cooks. The bottle itself came in dark glass, properly protecting the oil from a light exposure, which was already a promising sign before I even opened the cap on my counter. The smell delivered immediately, sharp grassy notes with a genuine fruity punch, and the taste matched perfectly with a strong peppery bite and a clean, lingering bitterness. Kirkland Signature actually sources several of their olive oil varieties from certified estates in regions like California and parts of the Mediterranean, and the harvest date printed clearly on this bottle was barely 3 months old at the time of purchase. I did some quick math on price per ounce, and this bottle actually landed cheaper per serving than 4 of the bottles that had already failed earlier on this list. That comparison alone should tell you something important, since it proves bulk pricing and genuine quality are not mutually exclusive when a retailer actually sources responsibly. Verdict, passed, and quietly one of the strongest overall results across this entire 15-bottle comparison, delivering genuine quality without the inflated price tag some specialty brands charge. Number 3. Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's built its entire identity around surprising customers with quality at a fair price, and their olive oil selection put that reputation directly to the test once again on my kitchen counter. The smell carried a bright, slightly peppery aroma right from the first pour, immediately setting a positive tone for what came next in this particular tasting. The taste followed through convincingly, delivering a genuine bite along with a clean, slightly bitter finish that lingered pleasantly, checking every single box a quality bottle should check. The bottle listed a specific harvest date and named the exact growing region in California, details that separated it clearly from the failed bottles sitting discarded near my sink earlier in this test. I also compared this bottle against a similar single-origin California bottle sold at a specialty shop for nearly triple the price, and I could barely tell a meaningful difference between the two. Honestly, the noticeably smaller dent left in my wallet after buying the Trader Joe's version made the decision even easier going forward. Verdict, passed, confidently and without much hesitation on my part, leaving just 2 bottles remaining in this entire 15-store comparison. Number 2. Lidl. Lidl operates with the same lean, efficient philosophy as several other discount grocers on this list, cutting costs wherever possible without ever sacrificing the actual product sitting inside the bottle itself. The smell hit immediately with a sharp, grassy freshness, closer to what I expected from a specialty bottle than a discount grocery store shelf, honestly. The taste confirmed it. A strong, peppery bite arrived within seconds, followed by a clean bitterness that lingered exactly the way quality tasters describe a genuinely fresh, high polyphenol oil. The label printed a clear harvest date, along with a specific region of origin somewhere in the Mediterranean, details that once again separated this bottle from the earlier failures sitting discarded near my sink. Lidl's entire business model mirrors many of the same efficiency principles that make their sister discount grocers successful worldwide, cutting advertising and overhead costs rather than cutting the actual quality of what ends up on the shelf. I mentioned this result to a coworker the next day, and she immediately said she had switched to buying her olive oil there specifically after reading about similar test results a while back. Verdict: passed. And honestly, one of the better surprises of this entire 15-bottle comparison, with just one single bottle remaining before this test finally reaches its conclusion. Number 1. Aldi. Aldi's extra virgin olive oil came last in this test, and I will be completely honest, I genuinely expected a solid result given everything else I have tested from this store on previous videos of mine. I did not expect what actually happened once I opened this particular bottle on my kitchen counter. The smell hit instantly and powerfully, a bright, grassy, almost tomato leaf aroma that filled my kitchen within seconds of removing the cap entirely. The taste delivered the strongest reaction of the entire test overall. A genuine, sharp, peppery bite hit the back of my throat immediately, strong enough that I actually coughed involuntarily, exactly the reaction quality tasters specifically look for during professional evaluation. The label checked every single box. A clear harvest date less than 4 months old, a specific named region of origin, and dark glass packaging protecting the oil from light exposure the entire time it sat on the shelf. I compared this result directly against the Wegmans, Costco, and Trader Joe's bottles, 3 oils that each cost noticeably more per bottle than this one did at checkout. Side by side, tasted blind with help from 2 friends who agreed to participate without knowing which bottle was which. Aldi's bottle won 2 out of 3 individual votes cast that evening. Both friends were genuinely stunned when I revealed which bottle had actually won once the blind test finished completely. Neither of them expected the cheapest bottle on the entire table to outperform 3 noticeably pricier competitors sitting right next to it that evening. I went back afterward and checked the exact price difference between this winning bottle and the Wegmans bottle. It beat in that same blind taste test. The Aldi bottle costs noticeably less per ounce, which makes the final result even harder to argue with once you actually sit down and look at the numbers side by side. Verdict: passed, and quietly, the true winner of this entire 15-bottle comparison. A result I genuinely did not see coming when I first started filming this test. 10 bottles passed, 5 bottles failed. And the cheapest bottle on the entire list ended up outperforming several competitors that cost significantly more per ounce at checkout. That is the real lesson sitting underneath this entire comparison. Price and packaging tell you almost nothing about what is actually inside the bottle you are holding. Harvest dates, proper dark storage, and an honest label ultimately mattered more than any logo or reputation printed on the front, no matter how expensive or trendy that logo might look sitting on a shelf. Hey, thanks for watching. If this test changed how you shop for olive oil and what you check on the label before buying, let us know in the comments below. I genuinely want to know which of these 15 stores you shop at regularly. Want to see me run this exact same blind test on hot sauce or coffee next, using the same smell, taste, and label methodology I used here today? Click on the left. And if you do not want to miss the next supermarket test before your next shopping trip, hit that subscribe button right now.